have Thomas Stith. Am I saying that right, Thomas? Did I pronounce your last name well?
Yes, Joe, you are correct. And while I've been waiting patiently, I tell you, I am energized for the day. I'm going to have to listen in more often just to get a little bit of your energy.
Thank you, my friend. And if you haven't heard this show, I've been doing this for 7 years. The only reason why they keep me around is because they enjoy watching people make fun of me and correct me. So if I say anything that is incorrect or you feel like just taking a jab at me, feel free to do it. The owner of the station calls that good radio.
So noted. So noted.
So Thomas, you are the North Carolina District Director for SBA. You the man, right? So Jeff and I, we probably have about 29 questions for you, right? But first, why don't you tell us exactly what the District Director's role and responsibility is for SBA?
Sure, Joe. Typically, when we're not in a pandemic, SBA's role is threefold. To help businesses start, grow, and expand. You know, we have over 900,000 small businesses here in North Carolina. They employ 1.7 million people. So small business is not only a key component of our economy, it's a key component of communities across the state. So, but also SBA is available and comes to support small business in a time of a crisis and in time of a disaster. North Carolina has all 100 counties now declared as disasters. And so now we not only do we build upon our foundation of helping businesses find access to capital, provide technical assistance for small businesses, and help liaison with federal contracting, we are now thoroughly engaged with the recovery effort involved with COVID-19. So while we're continuing our traditional role and mission, we have significantly expanded our duties to participate in providing financial support for small businesses across the state.
Okay, and let's dig into that, right? Can you? I don't want to get too much in the weeds because I know they can go to SBA and get all of the detail on this, but quickly kind of list the different types of help small businesses can get right now.
Sure. There are two flagship initiatives, and I'll briefly touch on those and a couple of more. The Paycheck Protection Program has received, probably the most media coverage, so most people are aware. And that program is designed to provide financial support for small businesses and nonprofits to incentivize them to maintain their current employees. So it is a loan up to $10 million or a 2-year term, 1% interest. But it has a forgivable clause. If proceeds after receiving the initial loan are utilized at least 75% for payroll, you could use 25% for utilities, rent, and lease payments. You have the ability to have that portion of the loan forgiven.
And Thomas, I'll tell you something. Us small business people, we're not used to people forgetting what we do. You understand that? We got to personally guarantee everything, and it hangs with us forever. You understand that? So that's a rare treat for us.
I do, and that's why obviously Congress, Treasury, and SBA thought that was a very significant incentive. In North Carolina, we've had over $12 billion approved for small businesses through PPP. So very effective program, and as you mentioned, it doesn't provide a long-term coverage. You can have it forgiven. The other is economic injury disaster loan. And in North Carolina, businesses are unfortunately familiar with it, particularly on our coast. These are loans that are designed to help small businesses after a natural disaster and for operating expenses. Two other initiatives, we have a small business debt relief initiative that provides SBA will actually pay 6 months of premium and interest on existing SBA loans. So we have a good menu of items to engage with the small business community during this.
And so, Thomas, we had the privilege of having Tom Tillis on the show a couple of weeks ago. And something that just warmed my heart was he said, listen, if any small business owner is having trouble getting any assistance, contact my office. We're going to help you make that happen. So I'm assuming that's the same thing at your office as well, correct? You want to help these small businesses during this absolutely frustrating time for us.
Joe, you're exactly right. Our mission is to support the small business community. So we have been working 24/7 in many cases to engage with the small business community, working with lenders, working with small businesses, because it's not only a global pandemic, it is a pandemic here in North Carolina and significantly impacting our small business community.
See, Thomas, on this show, when somebody says, Joe, you're exactly right, I say, exactly. So you fell right into that, Thomas.
Well, no problem. Look, I have to come on more often because it sounds like you're not right too often.
You are correct, my friend. You are correct. So, Jeff, please, if you've got a question for Thomas, please just raise your hand. Let me see it through Zoom, and I'll be more than happy to. Go right ahead. I figured you did, buddy. Go ahead and ask Thomas a question.
Well, this is a great privilege being able to speak with Thomas on matters related to the SBA and small business in North Carolina. Naturally, I do have some questions for you, and in no particular order. You mentioned the Payment Protection Program. It's been fantastic. I think many people have been helped by that in our local communities. On the adverse side of that program, I've been reading that the 7A program funds have been depleted to support that effort, and with the federal budget coming up on September 30th, we may, everybody likes to say, run out of money, which would put our business buyers looking for 7A guarantees on their commercial acquisition loans kind of in a holding pattern. What do you think is likely to happen with the funding, the PPP program, and the traditional intent of the 7A program for business acquisition loans?
Okay, Thomas.
What is a 7A loan?
Yeah, right. Okay, unfortunately, Thomas,
sorry, back in code.
Unfortunately, Thomas, you're talking to the president of IBBA, right? So let me try and get this for everybody who's listening, right? The loans that you need to buy a small business, guaranteed or supported from SBA, we are concerned about the financing of that moving forward. Talk a little bit about that.
Certainly. The current funding, with two parts of that. On the Paycheck Protection Program funding, we have around, over $100 billion remains, around $117 billion. Technically, that program will sunset at the end of June. There is discussion now, and as we know, if you have a crystal ball, you may be able to predict what's going to happen with Congress. We just don't know. I anticipate, additional support for small businesses, but don't know what form that will be in. I do know, on your question relating to 7A, which is one of our flagship traditional loans, as you mentioned, it provides for purchase of, operating expenses, business expenses. It is on the radar that as existing legislation, and I think it was an oversight, that funding may terminate in the summer as well. But I know Congress is very engaged now, have had a significant response already with the Paycheck Protection 2 rounds of funding. I would anticipate the 7A program to have support as well moving forward, given the commitment in Washington.
Thomas, you've been in government too long. When you say oversight, we don't that didn't roll well with us. You understand? Oversight.
It means the feds are watching you. Okay.
Okay. Jeff, do you want to ask another question and try and make sure it is something my clients can understand, not just yours? Okay.
Yeah, I apologize for jumping into the detail like that. A little bit giddy talking to Thomas, so trying to jump right in. But I did have some other questions, and this is it's probably going to be speculation on your part. So I'm certainly not trying to put you in a box and coerce an answer. But we know that in the past, the guarantee, which is the amount that the SBA guarantees to the commercial lender under the 7A program that buyers are using to guarantee their loans to buy small businesses, currently is at 75%, which means that if the buyer were to default, that the SBA program would reimburse the bank that made the loan not up to 75% of the then outstanding balance. In the past, in times not as difficult as this, that guarantee has been raised to 90% to further incent the commercial lender to make those loans to the small business buyer. Two-part question, but probably same answer. In conjunction with that, we've also seen adjustments in the fees that the SBA charges for those guarantees, which are paid by the buyer. I understand that Marco Rubio has a bill or is intending to introduce a bill to waive the SBA loan fees. So I'd like to get your input on anything you may know about a 75 to 90% guarantee increase and maybe an abatement of those processing loan fees.
Sure. I again, and as you mentioned, Senator Rubio, who's chair of Small Business Committee, has discussed some potential changes. I would anticipate, the direct answer is we just don't know. We will have to wait and see. But so far, if you look as another example, the Express loan, that limit has been increased from $350,000 to $1 million. So You're seeing a lot of adjustments because of the environment that we're in, fees as well. So I would, none of us have a crystal ball, but I think those are the type of issues that you're highlighting now. We'll get some review. It's just certainly tough to tell whether that's going to pass or not. We know, Congress is looking at a new, I guess it's phase 4, phase 5 now of stimulus that will address some of the concerns, but so far we have seen adjustments that are beneficial to the small business community, and clearly that would include buyers as well.
So Thomas, I'm curious, right? I mean, you understand my partner as president, past president of the IBBA, right? He's in and out there and on it, and he's got a sledgehammer and he's pounding on these senators from time to time, right? What about us small business guys that just want our opinion to be heard? Should we be contacting Tom Tillis, or should we be contacting you? Where's the best place for the SBA or the small business owner to be heard on these types of issues? Because what Jeff is talking about is clearly the difference between me being able to buy a business or not, or me being able to finally sell my business and move on, with the life that I wanted to. These are material, life-changing issues, and they don't know where to get these answers at right now.
No, on these type policy initiatives, and Senator Tillis has been very engaged with our office as we move forward just on implementation. I would think that's where the small business would need to focus on those decision makers from a policy point of view. The district office is on the ground handling day-to-day implementation, but when you have significant policy issues, we can certainly be a liaison for that. But I think it's key to remain engaged with not only your elected policy individuals, but SBA headquarters as well. So I would say all of the above in that menu.
So, Thomas, I'm going to ask you one question, then we've got to go to break. I work with Jeff. I am an independent contractor, independent person, right? And so because no wise man would ever actually write me a check, so I've been self-employed since I'm 17 years old, Thomas, you understand? I find it hard to believe that someone's going to write me a check and actually sign their name to it. I don't know what that looks like. You understand that? Okay.
I do. It seems like there's a pattern here forming for you, Joe, but we'll talk after the show and see if I can't help you out.
You are absolutely correct. Yes. So here's my question. I have not heard, now I know it's happened, but I have not heard of a 1099 or independent contractor that has received any money from the unemployment section, which is where we're supposed to go to get this money. We feel like this is an anecdotal, I'm sitting here in North Mecklenburg, but we feel like our state is doing everything they can to not allow us to participate in this program. Does SBA have anything to do with that? Can you speak to that at all?
I will gladly say we have no relevance to the unemployment system.
I got to keep going up the ladder. Is that what you're saying? I got to find somebody else.
Fighting that fight. I will say, though, from SBA's position, 1099s, sole proprietors, are eligible for both, for economic injury disaster loans, and those are continually being processed, and the PPP. So while a entity that employs.
Right. Did he freeze up? Let's take a break, and we'll come back and make sure we can get Thomas back on there again. You are listening to Local Biz Now. I am Joe Vagnone, and I have got my partner, Jeff Snell of ENLIGN Business Brokerage. He may not be my partner, John, after this show. He might He might drop me. And also have John, the founder and CEO of JSCM Group. He is the cybersecurity master. If it's Friday morning, your business matters, and we'll be right back. So Thomas, let's jump right in. You said something at the break that was like magnitudinal. Hey, Jeff, was that a real word?
I don't think so.
Okay. Thomas, it was magnitudinal, I'm telling you. And that was there's still PPP money out there. Because a lot of us small business people, we're thinking, I'm not going to go through the trouble. They're already probably used it all up. So talk a little bit more about that. I didn't know there was still money available.
There is, and as you noticed right before the break, I told you the feds are always watching, but I think that was the state that cut me off because they didn't like my answer on the unemployment. But you're again, get ready, Joe. You are right again. There's over $100 million still available, and that's a national figure for PPP. So we strongly consider, ask small businesses to consider to review the Paycheck Protection Program, and if it is a benefit to your business to work with your lender or your bank, your credit union, or your fintech contact, and pursue a Paycheck Protection loan. It is designed to help keep people employed and to provide some level of operating expenses. So, yes, funding still available. Encourage folks to really take a strong look if they've not participated yet.
Are banks able to process the applications? I've heard rumors some of the larger banks have cut off application process, and smaller banks require you to have a business relationship with them, and it's a little difficult to move money to different banks right now. I've heard a lot of pushback because some of the on the larger bank side. Have you heard of any of that?
You're correct, and we saw some of that in the first round, but in this second round of funding, it was an additional $310 billion allocated. We have broadened the base of lenders. On our SBA district website, we have a listing of North Carolina's lenders working with SBA, also a list of fintech companies that are working with the Paycheck Protection Program. So we encourage, if you're your current lender or small businesses, and sometimes, depending on the size, may not have a banking relationship. So we feel that the resources on our site provide them a good pool of potential lenders. If you get a lender that is no longer or reached their capacity of loan volume, you are certainly able to look at other funding sources.
So Thomas, let me see if I understand you correctly. So my local preferred bank, which by the way is Aquesta Bank, in case anybody cares, right?
You don't tell a cybersecurity guy where you bank, Joe.
Oh, daggone it, he got me again, right? But I prefer a smaller bank. You telling me they are limited into how much they can loan? Walk me through that. I wasn't aware of that.
Sure. And banks have total debt caps. But you just pointed out, we've seen strong response from community banks. I literally just saw a very positive article on Aquesta and how they've been engaged with the Paycheck Protection Program. That's one example of many lenders across the state that are very engaged in providing and still have capacity to provide these loans. Some of the larger banks may make a policy decisions that they're only going to have a certain amount of these loans on their books, even though they're 100% guaranteed by SBA. But we have seen significant participation by the community banks and your smaller credit unions.
Right. Thomas, we got to take another break because around here we got to make a living. You understand? We got to.
Somebody's got to work for it. I understand.
Somebody's got to do it. So let's take another break, and we'll come back. We won't have a lot of time, but we're gonna let Thomas have the last word. And just because my partner is on, if you want to sell your business, I'm your man. Give me a call, send me a text. You are listening to WSIC 105.9, 100.7, and 1400 AM. If it's Friday morning, your business matters. We'll be right back. And we are back. You are listening to WSIC. I am Joe Vagnone, and I am here with my buddy John Single. He is the founder and CEO of JSCM Group. We've only got 3 minutes, guys, so let's break this up. Jeff, take about 20, 30 seconds. What do you want to tell the small business people out there?
What all of us in the business brokerage profession like to share is that, consistent with your tagline, small business matters. Every small business is important. Ending with a little levity. Anyone who said that one person or one small business can't make a difference never tried to eat an undercooked bat.
Thomas, I'm going to give you the last bit of time that we have here, buddy. Take it away. Mainly, I guess what all of us small business people are wondering is, how are we going to get through this? Because we really have no model, no book to look through to help us.
Right. And Jeff, I'm going to have to say just the visual on that one has caused me pause on the uncooked bat.
That's what he wanted to do to you. You understand that, don't you? You fell into his trap.
I'll use my next 2 minutes just trying to regroup here. But on a serious note, we've talked about a couple of initiatives the SBA has available to small business, in particular the Paycheck Protection Program, still funding available. So suggest small businesses take a look at participating in that initiative. But in general, in our district office, we're talking about next steps. How do we continue to support small businesses throughout North Carolina in the post COVID-19 era? So we have numerous resource partners across the state, whether they're women's business centers, the small business technology development centers. We have a veterans business center located in Fayetteville. So SBA wants to continue to be a strong partner with small businesses. I think the message to the small business community now, realizing the crisis you're in, that we're here to help. We're here to support you. We're here to provide not only financial assistance, but the technical assistance that's going to be needed to plan your next step. So,
thank you.
Again, Joe, I really appreciate being a part of the program this morning. Anytime you would like to have a straight guy, because everybody else has better jokes than me, so I'll play the straight guy. You guys can be the comedian. But
thank you, buddy.
I welcome the opportunity to come back and continue to share information about what SBA is able to do with our small business community.
We appreciate it, Thomas. Thank you, buddy. And we're here for you. If we can do something for you, Thomas, let us know. We'll make sure we get the word out for you, buddy. If it's Friday morning, your business matters. You're listening to WSIC. We will see you next week.